Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. How are you, my friend? It's been a week.
A whole week. It's weird
A
not
whole week?
having a show every 3 days or so,
I know.
3.5 days.
And I was like super MIA because I went back home and I always sort of, I had a great time with my mom and my brother, but it's like I don't have a lot of downtime, or I don't know. So we didn't communicate. Well, it feels very strange.
I use that as an excuse to not make graphics so you didn't have to edit clips for us. And we were both like, let's just not say anything if the other person doesn't say it. We'll just blow it off. And it worked out wonderfully.
There's a minification. Anything to share? Any fun over the weekend? Mother's Day. How'd you spend Mother's Day?
We usually every week my brother and I make brunch for my mom, so that's what we
do. You say every week or every year?
Oh no, God, every week.
I was like, Jesus, no. That's like you guys are
I'm
the bar high. Ever. You are.
No, once a year we cook food, and usually it's even their food. We'll just take their fridge. No, I make an omelet. My brother makes German pancakes, which are like crepes, basically.
Yeah, and, that's fun.
Had a good time. How was your family deal?
It was good. We ate and drank constantly, and went out for food, and was the only person masked on the plane, in the airport, no matter where you go. It's so crazy. Everybody's coughing and sniffling around me, and I don't know. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Like, truly, it's just a very strange thing. And like, there is a part of me, today, Josh and I went to go watch Xander and 8 other student athletes who, committed to play a sport in college, do their like signing day,
Just a little brag.
It's my little brag. I know. I'm like,
it's those of you watching who have special kids.
That's my one little, that's my brag. Listen, I say so many like things about my kids and my husband and everything. I'm very ruthlessly honest, but yeah.
So that was them all well, including Josh.
Thank you. I'm still working on him, but the rest of them, yeah. But it was in the gymnasium, and we walked in. Josh and I walked in, and we were a few minutes early, and so there was only like 5 or 6 other people there, and it's really big, and there's wind, and their doors are open, but we both had our masks on, and I was kind of like, maybe it's okay if I take it off. Thanks, Josh. Thanks. That's my husband. And we didn't, because I was like, no, I want when Xander walks in here, I know it's going to embarrass him, but for him to know that like we, even with the peer pressure and the embarrassment, like it's really important. And then thank goodness, because then it just became packed in there, but we were the only 2. Like, and so then I'm like, well, what am I doing? Because then we come home and my kid who's there with all these people, like the whole bubble thing is gone. I don't know. I don't know. It's just a crazy.
I mean, like social distancing is not a thing for sure. Like every time I go to the grocery store, I'm like, I can feel your breath on my neck. Like, what the hell, people? Yeah.
Just raw dog in that
air. Oh, I was going to say, I know you want to know about my cat, and this is my weekend story. I had one, I forgot, ready for you. So 4 a.m. on Saturday or something. And I wake up, I fell asleep on the couch.
Okay.
And I wake up to the equivalent of like Abu Ghraib torture sounds, like blaring 100 miles, like my TV and my whole stereo system and surround system was on maximum, and it goes to like 11. I mean, we're talking. And Strike had hopped up on the coffee table and
oh my God,
turned the volume all the way up.
Did that like give you a heart attack?
Oh, completely. I was in like panic. What the hell is going on? Like, it took a long time before I even got to turn the TV off. I was just like, what in the shit is happening in this household?
That would have absolutely destroyed me. Yeah.
I just hope I woke up quick enough to the neighbors not realize.
So the neighbors don't complain.
What was going on?
Did Strike freak out?
No, I didn't even know where she was. She probably ran in the other room or something.
Right. That's very like poltergeisty or something, right?
Yeah, and crazy loud. I mean, just like you couldn't think that loud.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Had a heart attack. All right, that sounds like a good weekend.
Yeah, great.
Sounds like the party started.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, let's start off with something fun. Put us all in a good mood. This is somebody, right? We're going to start with our cheers.
Yeah. Cheers it up.
So this is an account that we shared something from a few weeks ago. He or she, I don't know, this account made a song that went with the UC Humboldt protesters and their water jug. And we used it as our one good thing and went out on it. Well, this person has created another really fun video. And we thought instead of going out on it and not sort of being able to reap the benefits of the joy and cleverness that they put into making this, we should enjoy it all together and start the show off on the right foot. This is when one of the chief of police in New York pepper sprayed his own face, his own eyes, when he was confronting protesters, I think on the Brooklyn Bridge. And he sort of started crying and had to be let off by his subordinates. And
so that's a good theme for a song.
That's a good theme for a song. So here we go. Spray cab.
Well, I heard on a bridge someone peppered the pig. Oh, he peppered himself, call him Pepper the Pig. He don't know why it happened with me. I spray facts. It happened because the pepper was spraying. He pulled out his weapon, regretted he got wetted. The universe tried to tell him, chill bro, you're hot-headed. Chill bro, Willis, when will you listen?
Cause sometime God has another plan.
He have another plan for your bitch ass.
He might humble you if you think you're the man.
If you think you're really bad, motherfucker.
Sometime you just shut your mouth.
Shut your fucking mouth.
Cause you don't know what the fuck you talk about.
You don't know fucking shit.
Well, I don't know if karma real, but I hope so.
So just a little joy. You know, they spray these horrible sprays in people's faces with complete abandon all the time, who are peacefully protesting. So I do think it's important to see what the actual consequence is of your actions. And no shoe for me is the account. And, you know.
Yes, I appreciated that. And cops usually, when they go through the academy, will get pepper sprayed once, but they're like 18, 19, 21.
Yeah.
Then they're a cop for 40 years and they're just out in the streets beating everyone up and spraying.
And that was a quick spray, like just
right
for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, just right at people's faces for no reason. So taste of your own medicine, not nearly enough, but did give us a moment of joy. So cheers to no shoe for me. And to getting a taste of your own medicine. Okay. Yeah. Also, huge cheers to our members, our pup heroes and sheroes. You keep giving, and we are so appreciative. The ranks keep growing. Thank you so much, you guys. It really means so much to us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't forget, as always, to like and subscribe, and make sure to smash that notification bell, please. Pat's favorite reminder.
Smash, make it go away forever. Smash it that hard. Let's get into the show.
Let's just do it. All right, look at that. So we have got bird flu, COVID, not COVID, worst of the week, genocide or bust, poor pores, dejection 2024 update, and one good thing. So let's get to that COVID, not COVID.
Good old COVID. Well,
Oh, I thought I had the weekly numbers, but I put them in the wrong spot. But anyway, just so we have the state of affairs, right?
Sure.
I
It's
mean,
looking good.
it's it's nowhere near what we said we would have to be under in order to get back to normal.
Yeah,
But
back to
it's
normal was 3,400 or something, right? Was that the number?
yeah, in the
Fauci said,
3,000s.
yeah.
And we're still at 45,000 new cases every week. Right?
Yep, looking good.
Not great. And as we all know, we do have this new variant flirt that is about a quarter of the cases, they think. But I'm still very concerned about COVID. We know the downstream effects of having even one mild case, let alone multiple a year or over the course of a lifetime. So, as we were talking about, I still mask indoors always, or if it's very crowded, outdoors also. But I think what's also just, concerning, I know we all know this, is that we do not have a medical system that can handle this. We don't have a public health government bureau that anybody trusts anymore. They're completely captured by their donors. And
Right.
as we have other pandemics coming down the line, as we have super bugs, and more bacterial infections are becoming resistant to antibiotics. I mean, we are just creating an immunocompromised population.
Right. Well, and the next pandemic, not only are we not strategically ready for it all, we already know we're going to be lied to about it.
Right.
And
yeah.
so if you're on the informed side that actually takes COVID seriously still, they're going to underreport things. If you're on the wacky right side that believes everything that the corporate libertarian propagandists want about, you go to work and don't have protections and don't worry about this. Well, you're going to look at the fear monger and go, they're doing it again.
Yeah.
So there's no trust in our government to do anything responsible for us.
Yeah.
And as you said, think of the beating all of the world's immune system is taken by multiple bouts of COVID. And we know for most people, if you've had it 3 or 4 times, you have some long-term effects still in your body.
Yeah.
So how are they going to handle the next pandemic while we are in the first pandemic?
Yeah, I don't know. And now I really wish I had clipped this because it was something I was reading on the plane, but apparently there is an enormous tariff on Chinese masks now that Biden just put on. And what he says is, and I wish I could believe him, but that he says, so he wants them to be made in the US by union workers and to comport to our standards.
Yeah, but I mean, this is where capitalism comes in, and every opportunity to fuck us is taken. So
I mean, yeah,
one way or another, those masks are going to cost a fortune, or not be made. The standards will drop, or
right.
Who knows?
There won't be enough. There won't be enough. There'll be a run on them, and we'll be told that little cloth mask is just as good.
They're back.
They're back. Yeah, it is really incredibly worrisome that most of us, for many different reasons in this whole country, have lost trust in our government institutions. Like, that's not a good sign at all.
It isn't.
And yeah,
you got long COVID now. They're saying really people with long COVID shouldn't be donating blood.
I mean,
they know enough.
Yeah.
So shouldn't that be a wake-up call that this is something a little more serious than a cold? Because if you have a cold, I don't think it affects you from giving
they
blood.
don't even ask you. Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, and we've been talking about this now because they've been floating it for almost 2 years that they won't take transfusions, they won't take donations of blood from people with long COVID or who have had COVID in the recent past. So,
right. And I mean, that alone, it's hard to get people to donate blood. We have a blood shortage, especially on some types. And when everybody in the country has had COVID enough, they're going to just drop the standards. So where the blood's not going to be safe at some point.
Yeah. I mean, how are they even possibly going to know? And a lot of people who have long COVID, listen, anybody who has a cold that goes on for the number of weeks that I hear the podcast that I listen to regularly, where the hosts are still with like a gravelly throat, like constantly, that is some form of long COVID, right? I mean, that's what it is. And they won't even probably admit that, because these same people say COVID's over while they have their, 3-month cold. And so, yeah, how are they possibly going to be able to test for it? Maybe that will finally force our capitalism-based scientific community to come up with really good tests. We'll see.
Yes, but bird flu is going to be here. It's
49.
We have plenty of time.
I clipped something earlier today. This was at 2:51, and it was in 46 states. And then at 2:51, something came that said now it's in 49 states.
Oh, 3 states in a couple hours.
Yeah,
good. Yeah. So we brought this up before, but basically, there's a panic that it's already in our unpasteurized milk, for example, is one of the big. They know it's in unpasteurized milk.
Right.
But they don't know for sure that pasteurization.
No, they have no idea.
Defeats the virus. And
they're not testing. And they're not allowed on the farms to test.
Yeah, right. So they're doing everything they can to not earn our trust again. Yeah. And like I said, the people on the right are going to look at this and go, oh, this is bullshit. They're doing it again with this fake COVID stuff.
Well, and listen, sorry, I'm a few people are, I was about to that. We had the thing with monkeypox. What was that, like 8 months ago? And, there was a possible threat. And some of the same people who are worried about this and who are worried about COVID were very worried about monkeypox. Right. And it turned out not to become a huge pandemic, which, good. Thank you. And
doesn't make your case.
Yeah, but the lesson to that isn't like, well, just ignore the next thing that comes. It's like, well, we still need the information and to be prepared and to know what's happening. We don't just stop collecting data because, right?
It reminds me of the people who ignore tornado warnings because we survived the last 4.
Yeah, right.
Or the flood that's going to come. Well, that's always bullshit. It's always overstated. Well, just because you didn't die doesn't mean something is safe. Like that's very illogical.
It's like riding a motorcycle without a helmet.
Right. So you shouldn't wear a helmet because I've never died without wearing a helmet.
Yeah. Okay. So is that all we had? For some reason, I thought I had more things in here. I don't know. The whole StreamYard call for urgent action on the threat posed by the bird flu, H5N1 avian influenza. How is that going?
Yeah, so they're not doing much. They did, I believe, change their directive, and they are going to be testing for it in our wastewater. I know there was a government push to have that banned, like you literally are not allowed to test wastewater for H5N1, but I think that's changed. One story we don't have a lot on, but we're seeing that mask bans are becoming more popular. And they're tying it in, obviously, with the protesters. We need to be able to see these protesters' face.
It's so disgusting.
You're against kids being killed with our money. We got to know who you are. So.
Right. Yeah. But here's the thing. Okay. So I don't know exactly which place they're alluding to in this, but I know that there is a new, were we both doing the same thing? Yeah. This is a bill in North Carolina advancing a bill that would it's an anti-mask bill for the reason that you said. They don't want people breaking the law by protesting peacefully to be able to hide their face. There is, however, a carve out for the KKK.
Because it's a religious right or something?
Yeah.
That must be it, right?
Yep.
It's ridiculous. I watched the video of that little back and forth banter on that, but
and then I think they pulled it. I don't know when you watched it, but I had to listen to somebody who had pulled the audio because the video had been taken down.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
What are we doing? But
yeah.
Please mask still. Please spread the word that COVID is more like AIDS and the flu. That's kind of how I put it to people. It's not exactly scientifically nailing it, but it is.
But it kind of is, actually.
Puts it in your brain that just a little more than just some passing thing. And then maybe the people connect the dots to, hey, 3 or 4 times. I still got some leftover shit here. Everyone I know has some leftover shit from my cold. Kids are just getting this
constantly,
repeatedly. So,
and again, it's not just that, right? Then it's the super bugs. That's not COVID. It's the RSV, the respiratory infections. It's cancer. It's heart attacks. It's strokes. There's so many different, tangential fallout from getting repeatedly infected.
Right.
And I don't
because
think people are going to wear masks again.
It's not just your immune system, it's organ damage. You know, there's so many layers to it that if we were actually tracking this, it might scare the whole world how bad these numbers are, but none of it's getting pinned on COVID.
If you don't want to scare the world, you stop collecting the data.
That's very Trumpian.
Very important to do. The thing about AIDS, though, also, I know we've talked about this a bit, but in China for a couple of years now, they've been using antivirals like AIDS cocktails treatments to treat people with COVID and long COVID, and it's working really well. So I wonder if they will not do that here because they don't want people to know how similar it is and how it damages or dysregulates your immune system. But
I did watch a video by some immunologist, I believe, but they were basically saying that today, and I was going to share it, but it had no information other than she thinks the antivirals would be pretty effective at fighting COVID. And so like, why don't we have the testing on this? Like that should be so urgent that it's just front and center, like Operation Antiviral Warp Speed, like what the hell?
In a few months when Trump's back in office, maybe he'll do that. Warp speed.
Yeah, he could be a hero. Maybe that's how he becomes
Mr. Vax. Mr. Vax. All right, let's find something a little fun, right?
Yeah, I think it's time.
All right, why isn't this? There we go. Everything is very slow over here on my end, so just know I'm probably about to get booted. And here we go.
Excellent.
Yeah, baby.
It wouldn't be a show if I didn't freeze and get booted. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, we didn't have a shot.
We gotta start the show off. Okay, wait. I'm gonna.
Although we don't do shots on our Sunday show, so
I know, but we do just drink.
Yeah, baby.
No way. Oh. Right. So one second.
Here. Let's start with Mandela. Good old Mandela.
Cheers.
We do not mean that Israel has the right to retain the territories they conquered from the Arab world, like the Gaza Strip, the Golan Heights, and the West Bank. We don't agree with that. Those territories should be returned to the Arab people, and they have occupied very top positions. But that does not mean to say that the enemies of Israel are our enemies. We refuse to take that position. You can call it being political or a moral question, but for anybody who changes his principles depending on whom he is dealing, that is not a man who can lead a nation.
What is that, 34 years ago?
I was doing the math as well because I can't count on Lila with the math. But yeah, I mean, 34 years ago, people were speaking up, trying to get attention to this thing that started on October 7th of last year. Isn't that strange?
That's when history started. Yeah.
October 7th it started, but the moral imperative was out there to where Mandela, who had already been through all his struggles in Africa, locked in jail forever, was seen as the moral authority in the world, and he was using his power, his position of power, to try to get Palestinians freed.
That's right.
And here we are,
all this time later. It's amazing. I mean, I do think, again, and I know we talk about this all the time, but how much overlap and intersectionality there is with all of these different issues. And if the US and Israel feel that they can do this to Palestinians in order to have an anchor in the Middle East and to, steal oil and police different countries, that even if it's purely out of your own selfishness, that is coming home to roost at some point. That disregard for human life and the, like shunning of all values apart from bowing to the green gods, like that. If they do it to one place, they're just going to do it to every other, all of
but
us.
we're already seeing, like, we basically have run the world through threats and this false rules-based order we put on people.
Right.
That's been hypocritical to everyone involved, but they have benefits to keeping relations good with the US because of trade deals. But as all these things are declining and we're losing power in the US and our moral authority, and you got China coming in and providing more aid than we are, like, it's really all spiraling downhill for the US as far as our own economy, our safety, all of it. It's really probably fair that we fall apart as a country.
It absolutely is. But I also just feel like that idea that no one is free until everyone is free, again, even though that's like sort of like a selfish or a self-interested way of framing it. But I do think it's really important for everyone to know that we'd all be way better off instead of competing against, who's been victimized more, whose genocide is real, or what is the solidarity amongst everybody, because they're coming for all of us. Right. So like once they're done with the one group, they're just going to move on to the next group that's in their way. And that solidarity that Nelson Mandela was able to show after being imprisoned for decades is pretty remarkable. Yeah. Before we move on to the next subject, just saw that we have 2 beautiful super chats. Thank you so much to Willie Bragg Show.
Cheers.
Leftists. Thank you so much. What's up? Trying to have a good show. I need to get my energy up here a little bit. I feel myself lagging along with my computer. Thanks. Thank you, Willie Bragg Show. Thank you also to Kimmy for your super sticker. You guys are awesome. Thank
Kimmy,
you.
I love the art. That reeks of 60s art right there.
Yes. Peace, love, and understanding. Thank you. All right. We're moving on, right? Okay.
Let's get right to Seinfeld. Wait a minute.
Right to Mr. Seinfeld.
Wait a minute. Gotta show the dumb shit. Got to. Oh boy. All right. So how do we even start with Jerry Seinfeld? It's been quite a few weeks for him and his wife recently. So yeah, I think the people walking out on him is kind of
just to set it up.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
he made the news this week, obviously, because of the college grad. He spoke at a college graduation for, goddamn, he spoke forever.
At Duke. But wait, why? Where is it? I don't see it here. Did it get erased?
He wouldn't shut up. Oh, it's not on there. Well, all right.
I'm going to load it while you're explaining. Quick.
But he spoke, and there was a lot of entitlement in his speech as well. It wasn't terrible. It was kind of trying to give lessons to people, but just life lessons and old guys passing down to young kids. But
it was okay. I mean, it was like the framing of "don't be embarrassed about your privilege." I mean, he kind of tried to turn it on its head, and the shame of it is there was, as you said, some nuance and some humor in it, even. But again, this comes on the heels of his wife and he giving at least $5,000 to the counter protesters who bashed people's heads in at the peaceful encampment that had been 100% peaceful. And then this group of Zionist, counter protesters infiltrated UCLA campus and were allowed in front of the campus police to batter the peaceful protesters, to try to take apart their encampment, hitting them on heads with planks, tear gas in their eyes, launching fireworks like into their encampment. and playing that awful torture music that the IDF plays.
And to encourage that, even if you support Israel, you're encouraging people to attack protesters, essentially. And here's a GoFundMe by a bloody damn near billionaire from Seinfeld.
He's a billionaire.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw him once driving his little Gullwing Porsche around, which is kind of wild. But anyway, here he is, this uber rich guy raising money for people to be on the other side of attacking college kids. And his whole speech, it was okay. It wasn't terrible, but it did reek of like not understanding that people don't have the liberty necessarily of just chasing their dreams and finding the money afterwards. Like he's telling these kids that are graduating college with $150,000 in debt to just follow the bliss and the money will come. Well, you had that liberty.
Yeah.
These kids don't, because that's not the generation that we're in now.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I mean, it's still good advice if you can do it.
It's good advice without any realism. Like, yes, follow your bliss. God, we should all be so lucky. That's what we should all be able to do. But we need to fight for certain structural changes or huge systemic changes. I feel like that it always sounds like Elizabeth Warren when I say that. That's not a big structural change. But yeah, he has absolutely no cognizance of what people are actually facing. And actually, there was a documentary years ago, which is when I first sort of started feeling like a little weird about him. I think it was in 2000 maybe, and it was on comedians, and he was already wildly famous and rich. And one of the up and coming comedians was interviewing him and sort of had that same question, like, well, what do you do if you also want like a house and a wife and kids and a little bit of financial security? Like, did that ever make you concerned? And he really was so derisive to somebody even asking that question and dismissive. And I mean,
that tracks.
Yeah. Like I think he's a talented writer if he wrote that show. I don't think he's like a brilliant comedian, but that show, had some really good moments that maybe were all because of Larry David, who knows? But also listen, we've all known, like, I've been out here now for over 3 decades. I know brilliant artists, actors, writers, directors who aren't working, who had to leave, who lost everything. And then there are also brilliant people who make it. And then, of course, on both sides, there are people who aren't brilliant. But like, there's a ton of luck involved. And so to act so dismissive to somebody's very valid concerns,
and let's not forget, I mean, obviously, it's over the Zionism is the real reason he was called out on this.
I do have that students walking out, though, just so you know.
Oh, you found it. All right.
It's
so
I'm not really video.
You blah 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 doesn't serve in the IDFs. So this is the propaganda they put out, that the people that left the commencement speech, graduation ceremony, did it because they're bigoted students and
they hate Jews.
I'm told a Jew,
right?
It's like just like Hamas stuff started on October 7th. This reaction to Jerry Seinfeld happened today or yesterday,
right?
You, not because of his funding of the IDF, not because of this lovely fantasy camp. Should we show the
yeah. Yeah, sorry. This has surfaced. And this was before. This was in like a few years ago. I think it was in 2018 or 2019. But like we all know
propaganda for Israel.
Say again.
He's doing propaganda for Israel, the Israeli military.
Yeah. And like some fantasy about shooting Palestinians. So this is him and his family at this IDF terrorist camp.
The enemy, take. On target and working as a team. By that.
Yeah. So they go, it's just been really fascinating to see how entrenched the fear is in so many American and Israeli Jews. There is a constant fear of, if we don't do it first, if we don't genocide them first, they're going to genocide us. And I mean, that is a long-term Zionist project. And of course, it comes out of a kernel of, not a kernel, more than a kernel, like a Holocaust and,
Right.
millennia of being persecuted. I'm not denying that, but like, Jews in America are not persecuted.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is just like, I drive around with my black boss every day in our truck, and I'm like, he gets racism every damn day, almost, like on some level.
Yeah.
Like, when we'll go to a job and I work for him, but the people will just talk to me like I'm the boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he gets that. I know Mexican people, friends get it. Chinese Americans get it. All these people get some real in your face racism. Doesn't mean anti-Semitism isn't real, but the majority of Jewish people pass as white. I
Right.
mean, most of the time.
Right.
So like this whole, like, people just hate you because you're a Jew. I mean, I don't want to rank the racism, but like, there should be some proportionality to the response to it, to how much your government reacts to it. And
Yeah.
The idea that these protesting kids are assaulted by seeing a tent,
Right.
when you've got black
When-
kids pulled over, stop and frisk, and
Killed
all
by
these racist
cops
policies that have been
in
around
jail.
forever.
Right.
Nobody's
Denied housing.
The government isn't going after Jewish people.
They aren't now. I mean, of course they were, but they aren't now in that same way. And it's really hard, because I think probably for older Jews and a lot of younger Jews, like, it's still very fresh, things that they lived through. I mean, it's different, because people would say things in front of me not knowing I was Jewish, and they would say horribly, anti-Semitic things about their landlord or whoever, or, ask me where I kept my tail, things like that. But it is different. Like, it is just different. I think a lot of people deal with people who are bigoted or racist. I mean, Irish Americans, Italian Americans, like everybody has a different thing that other groups might think about them, right? But it is not the same as you said, people who wear their differences so clearly, like,
And I don't think there's institutionalized racism against Jewish people, is what I'm kind of going
not.
at. That's part of it. And also just, like, as a white guy, I've run into so many white people in my 53 years on earth here that are just comfortable dropping racism to me like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And, maybe once or twice somebody blamed Jewish people for controlling the government or something, but that wasn't like, look at that Jewish person, they're the problem. It had a different, it's different.
It's
like,
more that they're the evil rulers of the world.
Yeah, it's like, it's a different,
it's a different horrible
racism.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like, I don't want my kid to marry a Jew, but I've heard how many white people would just in your face saying, I'd never let my daughter date a black guy or something like that. It is different. So
it is different. And again, like, I kind of want to go back to, like, I don't really love the oppression Olympics. Like, I feel like everybody does have different suffering and has gone through different horrors, or hasn't, or whatever it is. But I think that to build so much of an identity on how we're always persecuted, how we have to live in fear, how there's only one nation in the world where we're really safe, which it's insane to say that nation is Israel and not the US, but okay.
But you only have so many people come to those same probably irrational beliefs, right? If it's taught to you, it's very much the Hasbara, it's very much strategize, is very much
demonization of everybody around you.
It's very much Frank Luntz directly with how they programmed our politicians to react to all this stuff. So your entire life as an American Jew, you're taught the same stuff. You're taught to be a victim and you need to survive and we need Israel and everything we do is justified, you know.
And there's a fair amount with Zionists, especially at the beginning, and I think now it's continued over the last 7.5 decades, of blame on the Jews in Europe who were victimized and slaughtered and exterminated for being too weak. I think that's part of the whole mentality is we will never be that again. We will be the strongest people here, which is, you know, if you read somebody like Philip Roth and Portnoy's Complaint, and there was a lot about, you know, it was an American Jew going to see Israelis and they were all strong and virile and even the women were stronger than he was. And there's this sort of like mythical building up of this is what we have to be to survive. And anybody who criticizes any of this is anti-Semitic. And if that's how you go through life, first of all, that's horrible and you're wrong because that's not why people are upset with Seinfeld.
Right.
But that's all they can hear. And so if you are wearing a keffiyeh or if you're saying free Palestine, what they hear is what that means is genocide of the Jews. And if that is, you know, it's like when we always say, everybody always says every accusation is a confession. And it really is, because the truth is that is right now what Israel is wanting to do, is to exterminate the Palestinians. So they're not mad at him because he's Jewish. They are those Duke students who walked out when he was announced and got up to the pulpit or the dais or whatever, they left because they did not want to have to listen to somebody who helped fund
To this.
Yeah, that guy. That is him at the IDF camp, which, by the way, is in occupied West Bank. Where,
yeah, so to even go there,
Yeah.
you have to, you know, be Jewish and pass checkpoints and
yeah. And, you know, I mean, I know we've talked, you know, we all know the same things, but, you know, 2023 was the deadliest year for Palestinians in the West Bank on October 6th. It was already the deadliest year since they started keeping records of that. So
yeah,
that's why. But anyway,
right. Well, we're gonna get into. I mean, I think we're done with the worst of the week.
Did you want to hear his take on comedy? It's only 40 seconds. Or are we done?
Sure.
Should we just
Let's
move
hear it.
on?
I'll give you my take on him.
Okay.
Nothing really affects comedy. People always need it. They need it so badly, and they don't get it. It used to be you would go home at the end of the day. Most people would go, oh, Cheers is on. Oh, MASH is on. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on. All in the Family's on. You just expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people. Mm-hmm. When you write a script and it goes into 4 or 5 different hands, committees, groups, here's our thought about this joke. Well, that's the end of your comedy.
I do agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think
not for the guy who's doing the Pop-Tart movie.
Committee stuff and, you know, people making movies but on the other hand, we have more freedom for vile comedy as well. Like there are funny things on, like Dave Chappelle. I mean,
right, the whole roast, right? The Tom Brady roast.
I mean, Bill Barr, who just shredded Bill Maher on his own show. He's going to say whatever he thinks, you know. It
feels like a real excuse.
Creativity doesn't happen in committees, so that piece of it I understand a lot, but at the same time, like, honestly, he puts himself out as this guru who's the funniest, most upper echelon of comedians, and he was an average comedian. Right. His fame is from Seinfeld, and honestly, if you watch the Larry David show is Seinfeld. It's the same continuation. Yeah. Larry David was the genius behind Seinfeld, not Jerry
and I think
Seinfeld.
The supporting cast who were really good in that show. So
yeah, there were a lot of good people, but it was not Seinfeld's baby.
Yeah.
He was a part of it. And to be honest, his little stand-up bits kind of detracted in my opinion, from the show.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think they were. It was like, oh, he's just a normal everyday comedian. Like that's not
Right.
very funny.
Yeah. I think
It's the show.
it's hard to take the like, you know, of course he always has to say something about the extreme left, which everybody always does as he's going off to an IDF camp. But like to take any thoughts on comedy from somebody who just wrote the Pop-Tart movie and then also did the B movie, it's just sort of hard to think that it's the extreme left that's keeping him suppressed.
It really has nothing to do with the left. It has to do with running things by committee. It has to do with corporations homogenizing products.
Yeah.
And his product is being homogenized by, you know, Hollywood, basically. And it's also an excuse for his movie failing. Like his newest movie is apparently bombing.
It's like the pre-excuse.
Like, oh, it's weird. He's out here now saying comedians can't make it.
Yeah.
But then he's going to a commencement speech saying everybody can make it, just follow your bliss. And comedy will survive regardless, but woke comedy is killing us. And it's just a mess. He's an elite bastard. And
feels a lot like Bill Maher. Has a big Bill Maher vibe. All right. Are we spinning or are we just bleeding right into our next what do you think?
I think we need a quick break between Israel. I mean, this is Israel's next, but let's spin the wheel.
Let's do something. Okay. All right. So why does it say remove when I want to add it? Are you now in control of my Are you in control of my buttons?
Yeah, baby.
Not even spinning on my
Wait, you see it?
I did.
It's small. I know. I don't know what's happening.
Small. Who told you it's small?
First, we're talking about buttons. Now we're talking about it's just all high school.
So say what? Is it?
Say what?
Right?
Yeah. Say what?
This is the most election of our lifetime.
Anthony Blinken about to get us ads by YouTube. I'm gonna have to cut this out. Rocking out in Kia. It's amazing. Nobody's even talking about Ukraine anymore. What are they going to say? I mean, they've slaughtered 500,000 Ukrainian men. Sorry, was this our happy time? Because now I'm going to start railing on something else.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but real quick, you know what wasn't shown? Before he sings a song, he kind of dedicates to Ukraine.
Well, he's like in Kyiv doing that.
Yeah, this is all about Ukraine. Okay, I didn't know.
So did you guys not hear me talking over the thing?
I
unmuted myself to talk. You couldn't hear it? Well, because I realized in the middle of it, we're going to get tagged from YouTube for playing a copyrighted song. And I'm going to have to cut that out. So I hope everybody enjoys.
Wait, so you can't even sing someone else's song? You'll get tagged? I think you could probably sing someone else's song.
I guess only if they can tell by the ones and zeros what it was.
They probably can.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, that was in Kyiv. Yeah, nobody's even talking about it. Just funnel money to them. And I mean, what's so disgusting and cynical, and everyone acknowledges it, nothing will happen until after the election. Because it's such an enormous failure. It hasn't made the world safer. Russia's become richer. BRICS has become stronger. Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians have been killed for US, NATO military greed. And they are kidnapping men off the street right now, forcing them to serve in their army, basically just to be cannon fodder for what? Nothing.
There's no winning it, is the bottom line. Yeah. Winning it means in another 5 years, we have a compromise that Russia gets a lot of the property they already took. Like, that's winning it. And Ukraine, there's so many dead people in Ukraine. It's all for a proxy war for the US for whatever reason to
weaken
maintain
Russia?
our state in the world. Like, we're the superpower. We want the UN to be a uber important organization, even though the world right now is looking at the UN like genocide. No. Okay. So stop talking about poor Ukrainians like what Russia's doing in Ukraine. It's not right. but compare it to what Israel is doing in Palestine.
I know. And there was actually just a tweet from Blinken today about, and I mean, it's horrific, about somebody needing an amputation in Ukraine. It's awful. Nobody should ever have to suffer through war. Like, all of this is awful. And it also could have been avoided.
And for him to use his platform to speak up about a single Ukrainian getting amputations when the whole of Palestine has no anesthesia for amputations. And I got to look on Twitter.
10.
Every day on Twitter, I have to see literal severed limbs. And he has no comment on that. And he's out here singing. Don't do fucking karaoke. It's not karaoke.
Yeah, it's not karaoke time. He doesn't get to have any joy.
The world is too serious right now for you to be doing that.
Yeah.
Like
I totally agree.
Bullshit.
Yeah. 100%. You don't get to do that in public. Do it in your own privacy. Don't do that in public while you're destroying the world. I agree 100%. I just think it's really funny that we turned one of our moments of joy still into a diatribe against what's happening in the world.
Maybe we should go out with our one good thing and just call it a day.
All right, we're moving on. What are we moving on to? It is so hard. It's massively depressing, and they get to just keep failing up, destroying up, genocide. Oh, Israel. Yeah, of course. We'll see that. That was a perfect segue.
Something fun to talk about here.
Yeah. Well, so last week, Israel defied Biden's red line. They invaded Rafah, and Biden was really upset and said he was going to put a hold on some of the weapons because he was so upset.
Also, he also didn't have a red line. So you got competing messages. His red line was if there were serious attacks on Rafah, it morphed into that. Like,
right. And
because these by all observers, this is not a serious attack. This is just some little stuff where they're stopping all humanitarian aid and dropping 2,000-pound bombs.
Tents.
Yeah, but it's not a serious attack, so it's not really crossing the red line. But now it is, maybe-ish.
Okay, so he says he's going to withhold some weapons or put a hold on some weapons. Right away, we get an article. Despite the pause, the Israeli military has enough weapons supplied by the U.S. and other partners to conduct the Rafah operation, what a sanitized word, if it chooses to cast aside U.S. objections, the first official said. Okay, so not only was that completely revealed to be a totally empty threat, but then the what is he, the foreign minister? What is Ben-Gvir? What's his title in the Israeli?
You're asking too much of me.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Itamar Ben-Gvir right away puts out a tweet last week saying Hamas loves Biden. You cannot have one morsel of criticism. You can't even pretend to withhold arms when you've already given billions of dollars worth of arms to help slaughter over 40,000 people.
They have the same hold on our government as Trump does on the Republican Party. And they come at you harder than Trump does if you are mildly critical of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Iconoclast, Minister of Security.
I knew that. I was going to say it. No, I forgot. Completely forget. But Biden has had it. He's had it. No more patience with Israel. It may be wearing thin as Rafah gets destroyed and humanitarian aid is blocked.
Look at how USA Today phrases it, as Rafah questions linger. And I mean, okay, two things on this. How does he admit that he knows that American bombs have killed civilians? Because that's not supposed to happen. That's against the law in our country. We're not supposed to be giving weapons when we know it's committing war crimes or killing civilians, right? Even though I know we all know it, but like the fact that he said that out loud. But the other part of it is, why do they keep leaking these? He's really lost patience. He's having tough conversations, but because it just makes him look so feeble. Like he's already having to combat the very clear impression that he's this doddering old senile man who has no control over anything. but then they keep doing this. It just makes him look so pathetic and weak against this bombastic asshole Trump, who always comes off as a strongman. I mean, obviously I can't stand them both, but like, why is the White House leaking these sorts of stories to the press?
Because for the normie Dem, they want to believe this myth that he has a good heart and he's struggling. So that gives him permission to say, even at the end of this, we think he was wrong on all of it. He struggled through it, and he's better than Trump.
Yeah.
Think what Trump would do. Trump would have just bombed them all. He would have nuked them all. But meanwhile, you got Lindsey Graham out there saying we can nuke all of Palestine. And where are the Democrats coming out and saying,
nothing.
Holy shit, you know, this guy should be
censoring
kick him out. What the hell?
Nothing. They do that to Rashida Tlaib for saying free Palestine or wearing a keffiyeh or whatever the hell. And they don't say anything about Lindsey Graham. And with Biden saying he might withhold weapons, and then of course just gives them another $1 billion in weapons today or yesterday, right? Like in the middle of this, when we know, when all of these reports are coming out of, you know, his lawyers are worried. The US State Department has finally revealed, you know, one huge report on all of the war crimes and civilian casualties.
Yeah.
Right?
All the war crimes, but not genocide somehow. That's weird. That's weird.
Yeah. So what was I saying? No idea. Anyway, maybe we should show a video. No,
Yeah,
go ahead.
let's show it. What do you got? What do you got?
No. But so, okay, wait. So wait, we did have a thing blaming Hamas. Oh, well, which way are we going? Do you want to talk about the genocide? Do you want to talk about the numbers? Which way are we going?
I mean, he's
here?
all over the place. So this is 4 days ago. A ceasefire is possible tomorrow if Hamas frees Israeli detainees. Well, that was part of the freaking offer that they took that offer.
They took the offer. And there have been multiple reports. I mean, okay, that was from the 11th. That was from May 11th. A full week before that, we got reports. I mean, everybody knew that Hamas said, we will take the offer. We will release the hostages if there is a permanent ceasefire. And Netanyahu made it very clear, no matter what happens, whether there's a deal or not, we will only have a very short ceasefire. It will not be permanent. We are definitely invading Rafah. So, and by the way, Hamas from the very beginning said that they would release the hostages if there was a ceasefire. In October, they said that. This has never been about Israel getting back their hostages. We know that all the hostages who have been released, well, first of all, Israel's killed more hostages than it's released. Number one. Number two, the hostages who have been released have spoken up to the point where now they're banned really from speaking to journalists, but spoken up to say what they were really concerned about was Israel's indiscriminate bombing. They were, you know, not eating a lot, but they said that they were getting the same portions as their captors. Listen, I'm not saying I'm not trying to like extol the virtues of Hamas, and nobody should be held hostage who's a civilian. Like all of this is awful, right? But there is no way anybody in Israel, and I don't know why people in the US could possibly believe that what Israel wants to do is save the hostages. And so when they say, oh, if you just release the hostages, they have offered, they've said they will, but they want a ceasefire.
Well, I'm thinking back to the time they did release, I think 3 hostages. Well, the hostages themselves came out waving the flags and got shot by the Israeli snipers.
Yep.
So
well, those escaped. Those 3 escaped.
Yeah. But
hands up, speaking Hebrew, naked, I think definitely from the waist up, maybe only wearing underwear, but but hands up, waving flags, speaking Hebrew, and were shot and killed.
And why would they do that? Because they know they know the reality of their own. They were IDF. They know what happens. We better try our best here to be clear as all day.
Yeah.
But the real panic now, I mean, so you got humanitarian aid not getting in. You've got the doctors, U.S. and aid doctors around the world are stuck in the hospital. They normally shift out every few weeks. I don't know what the rotation is. But they can't get out, but they'll let them out. They'll make some deal. But what all these doctors, they always, first off, when these doctors leave their shifts, they get interviewed about Hamas. They get interviewed about, did you see anybody Was there any unsorted thing? And not a single report has come out of anybody who's ever served in all these places that they bomb and say this was a Hamas safe haven has ever reported any Hamas.
Oh, the surgeon was actually a Hamas general. Yeah, never.
Right. It's never happened. So what they're worried about is these doctors that are there are worried that when they leave, if they leave and aren't replaced immediately, it will be declared some Hamas thing, and the last freaking chance of any hospital care, medical care will be gone.
Right.
And we're on the verge of that happening right now.
I mean, it kind of is, because when they closed off the Rafah port, or the entrance, there are 20 American doctors who are basically stranded there. They've been there, I think, for 10 days. Ryan Grimm and I don't know who else at The Intercept did a report and interviewed one of the nurses there, Monica Johnson. But they are already on the verge of their own starvation after 10 days. Some of them are hooked up to IVs after, 10 days. They are seeing, they say, injuries that they have not seen. And these are people who, they're humanitarian doctors. They are always going to war, places that are in the middle of conflicts and war. They have never seen the sheer numbers and also the complete devastation that's happening there. People, children who have survivable injuries are dying of famine. They don't have enough colostomy bags or sanitation devices. So people who are being shredded by shrapnel and bombs have their insides coming out of them, which means the waste from inside of them is also, I'm going to use a really medical term, like dirtying, because I can't think of a good word, but infecting, like putting, is making the whole area unsafe. They're dying from preventable infections, and they're children. They're burned all over their bodies. There's just and they're having to decide, they're using medical terms that they say that they remember learning, like, making those evaluations, like which lives are worth saving, but in a way that they've never had to confront before, because people, if we use oxygen for this person who's absolutely salvageable, we could be using it for 3 smaller people. So we're going to let this 50-year-old die so we can try to save these 9-year-old children. They're having to make horrific choices.
No, I was listening to, I know I get a lot of shit for it, but I listen to NPR. In part because there is some truth that gets through on that show, but in part also to understand the narrative being told to normally Dems. But even NPR had a really good segment on this, and they were interviewing the doctors and one of the people in charge of one of the programs supplying aid. And the doctor was saying, and this really hit me and it was gross, but it's just like, so many people come in, have maggots coming out of all their wounds, like maggots from all their wounds, because they don't have anything to kill this. It's the disease and infection. And they were also talking about, like, look, somebody has an amputation, you stop the initial surgery,
right?
But most often these people need a post-treatment, a second surgery, and that's just not an option for any of these people. So they're not providing any kind of medical care that they would provide somebody. It's all just battlefront, quick fix, get out of here. The next guy is going to die if we don't treat them right now.
Yeah, it's awful, but at least we have a State Department that's really on top of things and we've brought empathy back to the White House. This is Jake Sullivan being questioned by a reporter, Kimberly Halkett, I think.
You said at the start of this that you don't believe what's happening in Gaza is genocide. What criterion are you using?
We're using the internationally accepted term for genocide, which includes a focus on intent. And it's not just me standing here at this podium. In the context of this International Court of Justice case at The Hague, the United States actually made a presentation backed up by legal analysis, which I would invite you to read because it lays out all of those criteria.
Francesca Albanese, the Special UN Rapporteur on Human Rights in Palestine, presented one in March. She presented it in Geneva. The 3 criteria she used, citing international law, 3 acts, Israel's intent to destroy national, ethnic, racial, or religious groups, serious bodily or mental harm to a group, inflicting on a group conditions of life calculated to bring physical destruction in whole or in part within imposing measures intended to prevent birth within the group, process of erasure of the native Palestinians. So those three things are happening. How can you say genocide's not being committed?
As I just told you, I think the best way for me to answer that question is actually to ask you to look at the laydown that we gave, which...
Are you saying this isn't happening?
I'm sorry, I thought you asked me how I can say it. I'm saying I'd like you to look at the United States'
I just did. I'm asking you, saying this isn't happening.
Do you mind if I finish answering your question before you interrupt?
Are you saying that she's a liar?
The United States has laid down at the International Court of Justice in writing, in detail, its position on this issue, and I'd ask you to read it. Thank you.
Are you saying that it doesn't line up with them with what she's saying? Thank you, Jake.
Thank you, Jake. Great. That's so great. Thanks, Jake.
I mean, that's skirting the question so hard because you're asking people to read a legal brief.
Yeah.
And it's not sensational. It's not, there's nothing in there. I mean, and she read some of it back to him, basically.
Yeah.
But that's not your point. Your point as this spokesperson for the Pentagon is to come out and use clear speak language to explain the situation.
And not say, I'd advise you to go look at
the legal brief.
Yeah. And also, we've all seen, we know what their case is. They're saying it's not a genocide. And, 127 other countries are all starting to come forward and say, we need a ceasefire. And the case that South Africa made, laying out the case for a genocide, has been deemed plausible, which, I think they have to change some of their wording because it's a little too squishy, and it allows people to misinterpret intentionally what's actually happening. But we know that Biden's actual lawyers are worried. We know that the State Department has many detailed reports on the war crimes that are being committed, right? The State Department details numerous possible humanitarian law violations by Israel in its war on Gaza, and yet it suggests no changes in policy or consequences. Current and former State Department officials can't believe it. I mean, we know that there was the resignation of a U.S. Army Major, Harris Mann. So he resigned a few days ago. Protest of unqualified, here come the readers, unqualified U.S. support to Israel. While assigned to the Defense Intelligence Agency, Major Harrison Mann said he was enabling policies that violated his conscience. As the death toll in Gaza has risen, the Biden administration has faced waves of internal dissent for supporting Israel in the war. At some point, this is U.S. Army Major Harrison Mann, sorry. Whatever the justification, you're either advancing a policy that enables the mass starvation of children or you're not. I know that I did, in my small way, wittingly advance that policy. And I want to clarify that as the descendant of European Jews, I was raised in a particularly unforgiving moral environment when it came to the topic of bearing responsibility for ethnic cleansing. Which, same. I mean, a lot of Jews who were raised by people who have a direct knowledge of the Holocaust feel very strongly that never again means for anybody, not just for Jews. And they do not want to be part of this. And then today, and I don't know if I ended up pulling it right before, but I think I did, the first Jewish Biden administration appointee, Jewish staffer, resigns from Biden administration, cites her Jewish heritage in accusing Biden of disastrous support for Israel's military campaign. Lily Greenberg Call, who promptly was then banned from Twitter right after that. Her account was suspended. But she was talking about her Jewish upbringing and also how Biden was making Jews the face of this century's genocide and how damaging that is to Jews. And I thought, I think a lot of Jews are very aware of that, but that's a compelling argument also for Jews to wake up, Mr. Seinfeld.
Yeah, and I forget what country she was for, but the last big public resignation came from an ambassador, and she resigned after getting basically demoted, moved, because she refused to come out in public and say that any of these policies are to make people safer, because she knew none of this is making anyone safer in this situation.
No, it's not. I mean, we're basically like inviting World War III. But yeah, I mean, I do think that there are a lot of Jewish people who are very aware and feel probably on some level more free to talk about the comparisons to what's happening now to the Holocaust. Even, I mean, I think it was either Noam Chomsky or Norman Finkelstein who first talked about Gaza not as an open air prison, but as an open air concentration camp. And the distinction, which I think is really important, is that a prison, in many people's minds, they hear prison and there's a connotation of the people here must have done something to deserve to be here. They're guilty in some way.
Right.
So in that way, it's not an accurate term, right?
That's true. And I mean, we now know there are actual literal concentration camps with Gazans where they're being tortured.
That's right.
So,
and that's because of 2 IDF soldier whistleblowers. So that's how, I mean, they came forward to say they're being tortured. They're not allowed to sleep. They have amputations from their arms being tied so tightly behind their backs. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so this week, another big story was, all the Zionists and propagandists for Israel on American television are claiming, oh, that's an undercount. The UN has recognized that this death toll is a huge undercount,
They halved the number of women and children they say were slaughtered. Hamas lied.
Right.
That's what they're trying to say.
And just like the beheaded babies, that story never gets, there's no fact checking.
Lives forever.
It just exists.
Mass rape.
Yeah, mass rape, kids in fire in ovens, all that stuff there's not a drop of evidence of it. And this myth that these numbers are actually so wrong that the UN cut it in half. No, obviously what they did was they said, we're revising our numbers on how many are confirmed dead by name, but we know these numbers are accurate.
Right. So just to show, so this is what happened. This was May 6th. Reported casualties were 34,735. 2 days later, they go up almost 100. Okay. But underneath that, in the black, it says 24,686. I mean, the writing, we need slightly more legible writing in these graphics, identified as of the 30th of April. And so when they were able to, I mean, remember, there are tens of thousands of bodies still buried under rubble. There are people, because these bombs are so enormous, people who are in sections. I mean, we've all seen these horrifying images of parents or children picking up pieces of their family members who were just blown up in front of them and putting them in plastic bags or in their kids' backpacks. So
yeah, this whole thing is about identified bodies by name. That's all it is. It's not, these are the totals. This was just revised this week. They put these out every 2 or 3 weeks, but 43, I mean, forget the people killed. 141 journalists, 332 healthcare facilities. This is why it's a genocide. Like, forget the first number, look at the rest of it. You don't destroy a whole civilization like that.
The infrastructure of everything, all their universities, museums, hospitals, schools.
History, schools, museums, but
wiping
hospitals.
Out, yeah.
Like, why do you wipe out every hospital,
Well, you wipe out the hospitals and you wipe out the record of them ever existing and anything they've ever put forth in a creative way, right? So that's all been decimated.
And we're now in Trail of Tears territory where Gazans are asked to leave Rafah with nowhere to go, and they're starving to death, and they have to march for miles.
Yeah.
To get to what? Another tent somewhere else where you don't have food? Farther away from the crossing where the aid is? where the aid isn't. Actually, I should say.
Right.
But I did. There's what I didn't pull a clip for or anything, but there is a militia from Egypt getting aid across the border on their own. So there's something good in that level. I mean, it's not enough for people, but I mean, you know, when you've got Egyptian militias going, holy shit, this is just disgusting. We can't do it. And they're finding a way.
Yeah, which will be more death and blood, because I mean, it is such a strange thing for them to talk about needing to feed Gazans.
Sorry, I'll share that information.
Needing to feed Gazans and give them humanitarian aid while supplying the same people who are denying that aid with the bombs that are killing them and forcing them to need that aid. I mean, it's just so sick. It is just vile. But so that was taken, those revised numbers were immediately seized on by the worst people in the world, like, oh, hey, Joe Scarborough, who still, this is, what are we on, the 15th? 3 days ago, he wrote this nonsense, which was refuted right away. UN halves the estimates of women and children killed in Gaza. Apparently, the Hamas figures repeatedly cited are false. That was a lie. This tweet is still up today, 3 days later.
Journalist
on MSNBC. This is one of his, what's his name, Biden's 2 favorite things to watch is Scarborough. And then there's one other thing that now I can't remember, but I know that Scarborough is like, you know, the way Trump listens to Fox. I don't know why this guy is not rotting in a jail somewhere, but this is written by Elliot Abrams, war criminal extraordinaire at the Council of Foreign Relations. Fox, you're in great company.
It's just such
an Fox
intentional, obvious, false lie. Yeah, it's a lie.
To make it seem like you can't trust Hamas's numbers, which is what Biden has done from day one and been corrected from day one. The UN and US State Department officials have said, no, those we use and rely on those Gazan Hamas, you know, the Hamas stated numbers. We have been relying on them and they are accurate for years. Oh, look at this. Call yourself honest reporting. Oops. Oh, wait. This is what they said, but then this is a reminder. Media ignore quietly revised UN figures of Hamas reported civilian deaths. Lie. But then they're just as a reminder, these are the same people who said that a lot of Palestinian journalists were actually Hamas or had helped with the invasion on October 7th, which is another way of just putting a target on anybody who has a big vest with press on it. But so then one of the spokespeople at the UN came out and explained 3 days ago that no, we didn't revise our numbers. It's just that we were finally able actually to identify this number of people. We're continuing to do our work, but no, the deaths are climbing every day. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to also remind people that, you know, a very well-respected leftist, Ralph Nader, thinks that the death toll is over 200,000 at this point.
I mean, I don't know how it couldn't be with the way they've just been with these, non-precise, what do they call them? Non-smart bombs, imprecise bombs.
And, you know, with no cell service, no infrastructure, how do you possibly keep track of all these people that are starving to death with nobody? Yeah. There's not a list of like, how are you doing? Is Pat Cody still alive?
Well, which is one of the reasons that they destroyed all the infrastructure is because, and the journalists, how do you report on it? How do you look at the registries? Whom do you go to say I'm missing my child? And then, you know, and that's something that makes the building of the pier out of the rubble by the, Jose Andres people.
Yeah.
So vile because people's bodies were within there. So those are people who will never be identified. There was a really great interview, and then I think we'll probably be moving off of Israel, but a great interview I thought with Piers Morgan and Rania Khalek from Breakthrough News. once again asking her that question, do you condemn Hamas? And this is how she dealt with Piers Morgan.
100 journalism professors at elite universities across the country are asking the New York Times to review their investigative reporting on October 7th. A lot of what we heard are lies. You don't talk about that on the show. Israeli media has reported on a lot of those lies too. Moreover, Piers, if you're going to say what Israel's doing is a response to October 7th, then could October 7th perhaps have been a response to what Israel's been doing to Palestinians, which nobody was covering on October 4th or October 5th or October 6th? What I hear here is no empathy for people undergoing a genocide. And I'm sitting here and you're asking me to condemn people who are fighting for their survival. I don't condemn Palestinian armed resistance groups, just like I wouldn't condemn slaves shooting at their plantation masters. Apparently, a lot of you would. I wouldn't condemn Nat Turner's rebellion. I wouldn't condemn Geronimo. I wouldn't condemn the Irish fighting the British.
Yeah, Pat took off. He was so impressed. Yeah, she did. She called them out on their shit, and there he goes. Nice. That question, I mean, it is such a deflection, and they do it every time. Just the way they just keep talking about October 7th, which, yes, was horrible, but they don't talk about all the days, years leading up to that. And they don't talk about all the days since then. Like, even if history started on October 7th, every day since then has been infinitely worse. And they only talk about the Israeli hostages, never about the Palestinian hostages.
Yeah, and Pierce has been so god-awful this entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting called out more and more on his own show. And he even pushed back against one of his guests recently.
He did. Yeah, an Israeli spokesperson about the number of civilians.
But will it wake them up? No, he's got an agenda. He clearly, but Rania crushed him there. Kudos for that.
Yeah,
that's how you have to stand up to people. She has a great show. I watch it once in a while.
Yeah,
very
I love
good.
it.
What is it? I forget.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's not the Empire Files. That's Abby Martin.
Somebody help me put it in the chat.
Breakthrough News. Anybody? All right.
Breakthrough,
I mean, Breakthrough News is their whole
Breakthrough News. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I said that at the beginning. Had you already left? Did you already check out when I said from Breakthrough News? It's okay.
Probably.
It's okay. I'll give you the Cliff Notes after.
I can't blame my bladder. I can't. I
think we should find a little joy at the bottom of a glass, right?
Yeah. What do we got? Spin something?
I'm gonna spin it.
Yeah, baby.
All right, look at that, a little timeline climb. I am gonna wait. Sorry, I am gonna call just a little bit of an audible. It's been too long. Doing a little extra.
Well, I'm glad you called it an audible because I looked and they removed our timeline cleanse, but it's uploading right now.
No way.
We made it though. It's up. It's up.
All right. All right. Good job.
But cheer. Oh, shot. I'll pour a shot while we
Ready?
watch this.
Okay.
Of course, it's processing.
Oh my.
Sometimes it's A-okay
to take bottled water from major grocery chains. Self-checkout is a wonderland that heals your heart.
When you keep secrets at the bottom of your shopping cart.
When it's ignored by the bored teenager in a vest.
His name is Tyler, he's a senior and he's the
best.
You would agree that sometimes
you gotta steal from corporations. It's your civil obligation. Theft isn't polite,
but water's kind of tight.
And if you get caught, just use the powers of persuasion.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't remember that I put this down there. I'm sorry. And my groceries were covering it all up. What's that? Do you want to see my receipt?
You know what they say. If you steal someone, I sound like Biden. If you see someone shoplifting, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
All right. Where are we headed? That's a lot of shots for me I've done so far. Okay. The economy, the poor.
The poor poors.
How are we doing on that? How's Jerome Powell? Isn't he Trump appointee, Republican? Jerome Powell, how's he doing for us? Let's see.
Let's look.
Let's see. Oh yeah, everyone should put on readers because this is the income needs for a family to live comfortably in the U.S. And the lowest is Mississippi, $178,000. And I need to see the fine print, which means I'm probably going to have to find this image in my drafts and open it bigger because I can't see what the bottom says.
Yeah,
but it is your budget allocated 50% of your earnings to necessities, 30% to discretionary spending, and 20% to savings. Are you kidding? Savings? Who has savings?
And meanwhile, in reality, 60% of people's rent is or income is going to rent these days.
Yeah. So
you know, and
that's
California, 277,000 for a family to exist, like comfortably. I mean, but like that's comfortably. How about uncomfortably?
Yeah.
It takes $150,000 a year to live uncomfortably in California.
I mean, yeah, I actually think it was 160, and that's not counting the 20% for savings, which who does that? I mean, if being comfortable means putting aside savings, which I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, the thing is Gen Z is getting hit the hardest. Another new study from a credit agency. I mean, but think about it. There's more debt. You're priced out of the housing market. Your rent is off the charts because there's a rental shortage, a housing shortage. The less money you make, the more you're impacted by grocery store prices or gas prices or, you know, all the things that are out of control.
Yeah.
You're more impacted. And
if you have debt, which most of us do, it compounds, right? So like, you're basically paying an extra tax on everything you buy because you're paying interest on everything you buy to be in that debt. So like as our credit card debt keeps rising, which it is, we're just like in that cycle more and more. And so we're constantly getting that alert, like, oh, you've hit your limit. So then you quickly try to like change things, put some money on there, a little bit of breathing room, and then you're right again there because of the interest compounding. So like people who have the money don't pay extra tax on what they buy. They buy exactly what it is for the price that's listed.
Right. And I mean the poorest people who are just really truly one mishap away from being homeless, like all these issues compound for them once they hit that point. Like, okay, suddenly they can't afford a $500 bill. Now they have no way out and they get evicted. Yep. Well, once they're evicted, what's your opportunity? So you start paying for hotels by the week or something like that, which is going to add up to way more than your rent while you're trying to unbury yourself from all this situation.
Yep. And then you owe nothing. You come away with that with nothing. It's kind of thrown out money.
Right. Or, you know, your car breaks down, you lose your job, then you can't pay your bill. You know, but that spiral is so common now. It's just accepted. And when you look around and you see the homeless problem, it's just accepted now. Like,
yeah. And they're blamed. I mean,
we're told our economy is great while this is all happening. And it's really who's doing good with the economy versus everybody else. Yep. Who may not even know yet how bad they're doing, but they will soon if they have a medical situation or, like I said, something caused you a $500 bill you can't afford.
Yeah.
And kids, they're surviving on the safety net of their parents who built a little bit of wealth. But if you're not lucky enough to have the parents with that little bit of wealth, that safety net is so small compared to, people that may not be you and me and who we're around. Like in a different world, I could be homeless. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my God.
I had to be bailed out by my parents.
100%. I mean, Josh and I are so lucky because we have definitely gotten loans and gifts from both of our parents many times, both of our sets of parents over the years. And even that, I mean, it all feels bad. Like living in economic insecurity is awful. Even when I know that no matter what, I will not be homeless because, worst comes to worst, we would go live with our parents. But that still feels awful. But I can't even imagine not having at least that. And so many, millions of people don't even have that. Yeah.
So just to shit on kids some more.
Yeah.
Joy,
Oh my
they are
God, I
always shitting on kids.
Awful.
Youngsters.
Favorite pastime.
The nice thing is this was actually an article saying she's wrong. It may be the boomers who are stopping them from getting ahead. And it is because they have the rental and the housing market locked down.
Yeah.
And kids are just locked out of it, period.
Yeah. And it especially got bad over at the beginning of COVID when nobody had money and Blackstone came in and other corporations like that and bought up all of these single family homes, which there should be a law against that. Jerome Powell raising interest rates, right?
Immediately be pushed by all Democrats. It's get housing back to no corporations own housing. This is
100%.
If you're an ally as a Democrat, if you make the case to the public, the public will believe this. They don't care about these the public, even your shitty normie Dems, they don't want these BlackRock owning all this shit. They don't see
even Republicans. That's a popular idea when it's presented to Republicans, to Republican voters. Yeah. Most people do not want to be priced out of housing by Blackstone or BlackRock or whatever the hell, all of the Vanguard. That makes sense to everybody.
If you name this problem and look at connect it to the homelessness and just say it's a simple cost of housing issue on a lot of levels, we will get rid of a lot of these things that are eyesores to you, but lives for these people. But you won't have to see them, at least if you just get these corporations out of this shit.
Yep. It reminds me of the swimming pool problem because of the way it's phrased. And it feels like in the 50s during the civil rights movement and 60s when they were finally starting to allow Black families to come to the public pools.
Oh, I heard Biden on this one.
And the white families were like, just close down the pool. We'd rather not have a public pool for all of us than allow Black people to be in the pool with us. So
that's where Biden was the ally. And, he fought Corn Pop. Remember
his hairy legs? They would how the Black children would play with his legs, hairs or something.
We need to pull that cartoon on that. I love that.
Oh, I know, except I think it was like some right winger who did that.
I don't care
because I posted it and then I got dragged by a lot of people. But anyway, I agree. I liked it. Okay, and yes, we all know it's all rigged. It is greedflation, big oil, other corporate collusion driving high prices. We know that. High price of oil from 2021 to 2023 was due to collusion among oil corporations, emails, text messages between Pioneer Resources CEO Scott Sheffield and an OPEC official. The oil industry surged from a likely loss in 2020 to more than $238 billion in profits in 2021, $451 billion in profits the following year.
Just a big scam on the American public.
This price fixing scheme cost Americans between $500 and $1,000 per person and between $2,000 and $4,000 a year for a family of four in 2021. Price fixing, they are all colluding. It's just
I was watching the actual boring ass hearings on this and
C-SPAN, baby.
Oh my God, I need a life. But
you go from NPR to C-SPAN.
Honestly, it's like, look, I think they were asking, the ask was for like $30 million to regulate this industry that is ripping off the country like 60 trillion or something stupid. That's a made up number. But the cost of regulating some of this versus the outright admitted theft by these groups.
Yep.
It's only corporate capture that prevents us from regulating this. Like, that's it. It's just greed. It's these guys are getting handouts behind the scenes and they're getting their campaigns funded by oil and every industry that's fucking us over is funded by them. So this is Biden ran on eliminating student debt. And here we are. Education Department announces the highest federal student loan interest rate in more than a decade. Like that's where we're at right now.
Why is Jerome Powell still the head of the Fed? it wasn't he a Trump appointee? Am I wrong about that? He and DeJoy?
Yeah, I think he
Like,
was.
what happens when Democrats come into power? Anything? Nothing. It's impossible to get anything done because Republicans always stand in the way.
Right. So if this bothers you, if this, you were taught by Democrats last election cycle that student loan rates are through the roofs and it's fucking kids and the next generation, and Biden's going to do something about it. And
Next
so
time.
we're literally
Finish the
raising
job.
rates, and he's going to run on in
I
2024
wanna finish the
doing
job.
something about what his own administration just did to raise the rates.
I know we're going to get to 2024 in a few minutes, but like, I don't know if finish the job is the correct motto for this campaign, because I'll tell you, the job
It's a
they're
little
doing
rapey,
is like,
too. I'm not
yeah.
gonna lie.
Ugh, yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's totally right. Do we have any videos on economy, or are we? Oh, we do have a little good news in the economy. A couple things. One, I don't know what the climate defiance thing is. Is that a good thing? I didn't look at it yet.
Yeah. They actually,
Okay.
this is a good
Okay.
GoFundMe. So these guys, are raising hell. They're interrupting every public opportunity they have to get in front of a board or a politician and make them leave. And they're very effective at ending the entire shit show and pressuring them. So they put out a GoFundMe for the first time. I'm sure they're over 100,000. This was a couple hours ago.
Yeah. No, they've been fantastic that's him, one of the guys with Joe Manchin. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's the one who said, "You sick fuck." So, I mean, that alone, that's 100,000.
That's worth $100,000. Yeah. And
Especially
I know
with my $277,000 I have to raise a family in my state. I have $100,000 just sitting around to give these guys, but give them money if you got a couple bucks.
Yeah, no, they've been really good at disrupting, and it's hard because God, there's so much going on. I know we talk about this all the time, but like the thing that first kind of radicalized me, they're great. And we had on, oh gosh, now I'm not going to be able to remember her name, but she was fantastic when we had her on, and they've just continued. One of the activists from that group. They have a lot of energy. It's hard to keep it going in the face of oppressing genocide, right? Like it feels like, oh, does anybody even want? So I'm really proud of them and encouraged by them that they continue this work in spite of other things that feel like more pressing immediately.
And not to be a downer, but to be a complete story person. And we should have her back on because, she was a little bit like, well, you still got to vote for Biden.
Right.
She had a little bit of that in her.
Yeah.
And, they did meet with Biden, but I'm not going to fault anyone for having a meeting with Biden.
Yeah.
The important part is they had the meeting, gave him a little praise over having the meeting, and then went back to telling Joe Manchin he's a sick fuck. So, their heart's in the right place. I would hope we could have her on and her say, no, I'm not voting for Biden.
I would too. It's such a hard line, even just like with all the protests and Biden saying he was going to halt some of the weapons shipments. And I saw, like Norman Finkelstein and David Sirota and some other people giving the protesters props while still saying this isn't nearly enough. But look, it has, AOC, it has value to do that. But on some level, I feel it's really frustrating because obviously it didn't stop anything. Nothing stopped. And so I kind of don't want to, encourage the protesters to continue, but let's not act like actually that we've gotten a morsel of anything, because we haven't even gotten a crumb at all.
Exactly. And that's where any sort of any sort of apologetic, like it could be worse under the other guy, or he's trying and not doing enough. Like we need full hardcore call outs on you're failing us.
Which, by the way, is what the big lobbyists do, right? The big donors, they're like, we're not giving you money. We'll just give it to Trump. Like, we don't need you. We're leaving. They do that. So like, we need to stop being at all conciliatory. It's over. We hate you. It's over. All right. So that's a good piece of news. Another good piece of news. Yeah. Another piece of good news. Oh.
I'll push it again.
Oh my God. Yeah. Orca. Remember those orcas sinking yachts last year? They're back, baby. They are sinking the yachts. I would love to watch video of that going down. Also, and this is in Argentina. Our friend Amazon Piss Jugs, love that handle. General strike brings Argentina to a standstill because of their austerity. Javier Milei's, their new, right-wing fascist president, austerity and deregulation. So those general strikes are pretty fantastic.
I think we need to hashtag organize. That's a new. Let's push that. That's
I
catchy.
can't believe you said that out loud before you patented it.
Let's do. I'm selling shirts because I'm a real leftist.
Go Orcas for sure. Yes, Team B. Oh God, you're right, Jessica. I saw that, and now I can't remember. Was it cops?
No, IDF.
Swarming cops.
IDF.
Okay, well, they're cops, but yeah, that was pretty cool. I wish we had.
The bees stung, and there are pictures of the people with their swollen faces. All
amazing. It's amazing.
Unrelated, but sort of related. I was camping once with my friend who got bitten by a bee, and she turned to me and she said, "It feels like a little something." And she had the face that was out like this big from a bee sting.
Yeah, that used to happen to me every year. My eye would just swell up, and I wouldn't be able to see out of an eye for a week.
It's crazy.
I also just wanted to say, Cora, thank you. That is so incredibly generous. Super sticker. Thank you, Cora. Thank you. Thank you. Cheers. All right. Are we moving on?
I think we could spin the wheel for something. What do we got left?
Oh, we got
puppets,
and we do have a here.
We have another one we could show. Yeah, we can show the other one. But
all right, but let's just see if we get a shot. Shocking. That's shocking. How did that happen like that? All right, I'm removing this one. Remove. Did you want to show a here, or do you want to do another?
Oh yeah.
Or do you want to do puppets? What do you want to do? We probably are only going to do one more because then we're going to have 2024, and then we're going to let everybody go.
People are going to be mad if we don't show a pets. I think we ought to do pets. Sorry, Chomsky.
We'll show him another time.
Oh.
Oh. Oh.
What are you doing? Oh.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That one hurt.
Oh.
That was a little less funny and violent.
Oh my God. All I see are spinal cord injuries. When we had a new puppy and she was big, Sandy, you met her right before the end. But when Xander was like 2 and he was just this little chub, and she would come running behind him and take his legs out and he would fall flat. And he was just so insulted. Like, he loved her so much. And it felt personal seeing all those little kids. Oh my gosh.
Well, can I just tell you, I have a scar from every single pet I've probably ever owned. I have, my hand is all here. Well, you can't see it anymore. When you get to 53, some of them go away. But
good to know.
I wouldn't let go of the collar. The dog ran away, and I was getting dragged on the cement. So I had a scar where
my God,
I was hitting the cement. I broke up a fight with my dogs. Almost got my finger bitten off.
Oh,
Pablo, there are claw marks on my belly right now, still from 4 or 5 years ago when Pablo cut my stomach. I mean, you gotta love pets. Pets are great.
You gotta love them.
Adopt a pet. Go to your shelter.
Yes, they are great, but yeah, those scars stay with you.
Sorry, I'm cutting you off, but I feel like that was disappointing. So should we should at least hear Chomsky. We have time.
Okay.
What do you think?
All right, let's do it.
The statement is that, in the course of time, Israel should no longer exist. Well, actually, I happen to agree with that too. In fact, so do a lot of people in Israel, the ones who think there should be a single democratic state. That's not calling for wiping anyone out. Actually, there are two countries that are not only calling for some nation not to exist, but are destroying it, namely the U.S. and Israel. That's their position with regard to the Palestinians. And they're not just saying it. I stress, they're not just saying it, they're doing it day by day. That's the meaning of the policies that are going on right before our eyes in Gaza and the West Bank, which we are supporting and paying for.
He's so great, a treasure. Daniel, thank you so much for the super sticker. That is incredibly generous. We appreciate it. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you. All right. I think we're moving on.
What do we got? Election stuff, right? Dejection 2024.
You guys, it's going to be fun.
This is the most important election of our lifetime. I know that much.
This time we mean it. I love that they even say that. This time we mean it. Charlemagne the God blames the media for division, says voters can choose crooks, cowards, or the couch. Who are the cowards and who are the crooks? Like, honestly, I'm so tired of Democrats being called cowards. They're not cowards. Like, I'm just so tired of feckless. They're weak. They're not weak. They're all in the same game. They're all complicit. It's just,
right. It hides the motive because you're just like, well, they're doing what they can. They're not as good, but like they're not truly evil people like, the Palestinians are, or
right.
They're not the white supremacists like the other team. So, they could be cowards, but they're our guy. You got to vote for him, which is essentially what Charlemagne the God is coming out with this by saying that. Like, blaming the media for being divisive. Like, how about blame the media for not being honest? Like that would be where I would start.
I would love to talk to you about this, but all of the graphics disappeared.
All your 2024 graphics?
Yeah, like all of the polls that were just released by
this
by
one?
the Times. Okay, that's with third party, but like we didn't start it that way. This is how we started it. This is it. I just re-added them. You guys,
wow.
StreamYard, if somebody can come up with some alternative to StreamYard, I would be so grateful. Okay. This was from the New York Times. I think it was yesterday. If the 2024 presidential election were held today, would you vote for Biden or Donald Trump? This is in 6 battleground states: Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, Georgia, Nevada. These are the only 6 states really.
Right. This is all that matters. But I can already tell you that we're going to hear that Wisconsin is the most important swing state there ever was, because somehow they've got Biden winning this one for the first time he's ever been ahead in Wisconsin, to my knowledge.
Yeah. And what is he? Is still within the margin of error, because I think the margin of eror is, what is it? It's
a big gap at the bottom. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a big gap. No, but I mean, it's 47 to 45 that Biden's ahead. So he's ahead 2 points. And I think it's a 4-point margin of error. So, and okay, then if we're doing that, then okay, fine. Trump is only ahead by 3 in Pennsylvania, but the rest of it is sort of a blowout. You cannot recover from this. A new set of Times Siena polls reveal an erosion of support for Mr. Biden among young and non-white voters upset about the economy and the war in Gaza. What I did think was really fascinating, though, when you kind of dig into it a little bit, Biden's losses are concentrated among moderate and conservative Democratic-leaning voters who nonetheless think that the system needs major changes or to be torn down altogether. Mr. Trump wins just 2% of Mr. Biden's very liberal 2020 voters who think the system at least needs major changes, compared with 16% of those who are moderate or conservative.
Yeah.
So who's going to get blamed for Trump?
But I mean, what's interesting to me is that, like, Trump, the first time around, he got elected because everyone's like, look, it's fucked. Throw a grenade in. I don't care if Trump is. That's a perfect freeze for your image.
Oh my God. It actually
no,
is.
don't leave yet. Let's screenshot that.
I am. I'm taking a screenshot of this right now, and then I'm going to exit and come back. Are you kidding me?
Where was
Keep
I
talking,
going?
Pat.
Oh, so yeah. So round one with Trump was basically grenade. He's a grenade. He's a mess. He's not good, but he's independent of the political parties, basically. And so let's just see what happens. And what you saw happen was awful. Like, people weren't happy with Trump, and he went out with bad numbers, and his loyal supporters may still support him. But what that poll shows is that people that wanted the system to be blown up and changed saw what Trump did and still don't care. The Democrats, the people that still don't think the system is working, are still carrying that belief. And who's going to save Biden? I mean, he's lost 40 points with, I think, people 18 to 30, something like that, and maybe 18 to 25, but a huge number. And they're not going to come out and vote for him. COVID people aren't going to vote for him. People who are paying twice what they were 4 years ago in rent aren't going to vote for him. People who didn't get their student loans forgiven aren't going to vote for him. People who lost abortion rights, maybe you'll vote for him, but like, he didn't defend the rights like he said he would, and they were lost on his term. And the whole plan to get them back involves electing him and way more Democrats than he had before.
And expanding the court and abolishing the filibuster, things that he was not willing to do.
So
did you want me to come back? Sorry. I'm just going to come back and just right away interrupt you. Yeah.
No, you should. You saved me. I was going to go on around. I was going to tell you about black people, to be honest.
Yeah, I know.
It's going to get real racy in here.
God. Okay. So wait, did you show any other polls?
No, I saved the polls for you.
All right. Okay. I like my graphics. I have to fix the lighting, because whenever I come back, it makes me it needs to read color. Yeah. I get blue. Okay. He's losing those centrist voters, and they are still, just like in Florida in 2000 when they blamed Nader voters, 90,000 Nader voters in Florida, 200,000 Democratic voters voted for George W. Bush, but they still are going to blame Nader while they say how much they miss George W. Bush. All right. Anyway, here we go. Angry. This is the interactive polls with third party. Look at that.
Let me see. Okay, so this one has him ahead in Michigan, which is really wild. He's not going to win Michigan.
He's not. Well, he's +3, and I think it was a 4-point margin of error. So in Michigan, I know, and now I can't compare it to the one before, but it's interesting to see that in most of these, RFK actually takes from Trump. Although not in Georgia or Nevada. The other thing is, I've heard some of the cope coming from Democrats talking about Nevada and all the things that were supposed to be demographics are destiny. When Obama came in 2008, there was this huge sigh of relief from Democrats that, okay, Democrats, we've got young people, we've got Black people, we have Hispanic people, we have working people. That was the transcendency of the Democratic Party.
It was sold as the coalition it's going to be unbeatable now. Now that you've got these people, but you failed all these groups.
Yeah. Because Obama came in as a progressive and disappointed people on, on bailing out Wall Street, on housing, on immigration, on Occupy Wall Street. And, like those first images that we saw of police coming in like stormtroopers and breaking up protesters were under Obama. And people were distraught. And then you bury the candidate who actually was exciting that demographic that you claimed was the one you were running after. And then what we find out is they're actually going to do the Schumer plan. And for every working class person you lose, you're going to gain 2 Mitt Romney voters. And that's where they are. That's the whole group that they're always combating for, right? It's just that group of wealthy centrist people.
When you lose 40 points with young voters, now he's like, well, let's just beat up all the young voters. Like that should win him over. No, he's running tough on crime. He's all these cop cities, he should be running against the cop cities. Instead, he's giving the cops more money everywhere. He's giving them COVID money. So, money that should have gone to the pandemic went to these cop cities.
Yep.
But how is he going to win young voters back?
Where's the roadmap campus?
Yeah, Ro Khanna's saying, oh, he should, but he's gonna go visit these protests. Really? He's not going to visit the protests.
No,
come on. He's not even going to debate. He's going to have maybe 2 debates. I mean, we'll get into the
I think he threw down a little challenge. You want to see the video of this challenge? Here we go. You ready?
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
6. Count it. 6 clips. Could not do 14 seconds in one take. That was 6 cuts.
Each set of like 5 or 6 words had to be shot separate of each other for this.
How is he going to do a debate?
I mean, they're going to crack him up on, all the amphetamines they can get him, and they can probably get away with it. But like, that's why we're already, where's the letter? We can't read the whole letter, but
these are the rules. These are his rules.
Yeah.
Mr. Biden opened the exchange on Wednesday by saying he was willing to debate Mr. Trump twice before the election and as early as June, but on the condition, this is democracy, that the arrangements bypassed the nonpartisan organization, the Commission on Presidential Debates, that has managed presidential debates since 1988. Are we back to normal? Like what was that?
We're setting a precedent that the TV networks are going to determine who gets into debates.
Yeah, it's going to CNN and ABC, I think. Mr. Biden and his top aides want the debates to start much sooner than the debates proposed by the organization, which is the Commission on Presidential Debates, so voters can see the 2 candidates side by side well before early voting begins in September. They make it, but this makes it seem like there's no possibility of doing those 2 early ones and then still doing the 3 regular ones a little later, the way they've always been done. Do 5 debates, talk, like defend yourself. They want the debates to occur inside a TV studio with microphones that automatically cut off when a speaker's time limit elapses. I actually like that. I think that's great. And they want it to be just the 2 candidates and the moderator without the raucous in-person audiences that Mr. Trump feeds on, and without the participation of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or other independent or third-party candidates.
So here is the president trying
Democracy.
to set a precedent of not allowing third-party candidates, regardless of their actual polling, to be involved. Now, I don't want RFK Jr. to win, even if it's against these 2 shitbags. I don't want any of them. But I do want him to, if he hits 15%, at least according to the current
opportunity to get
presidential committee, to if he gets 15% in 4 polls, 4 established polls, which are still determined by CNN, it's bullshit. Then he gets in, and he's allegedly at 16% in at least 1 now, and could hit the mark. So this is preventative medicine. He's already out, not medicine, but he's out there saying, in case those guys get there, the terms of my agreement are that it's just me and Trump. Like, no, we can't have a third party person up there. We can't have it.
No third party
Not happening.
person. And by the way, I mean, well, Dems did that. How does he get to set the terms anyway? I mean, it's kind of amazing. Like, and I know Trump's camp is pissed that he jumped in and said it right away. Trump did a truth. What does he call it? Is it truth? A truth? Is that what he calls those? Like, it's not a tweet, it's a truth or something.
Is it? I have no idea.
I think so. Here's his truth. It's my great honor to accept the CNN debate against crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States and a true threat to democracy, on June 27th. Likewise, I accept the ABC News debate against crooked Joe on September 10th. Thank you. And he signs his truths. I mean, also, how does he only have 3,000 likes? Like,
retruths?
Retruths.
They are truths. They must be retruths.
That's funny.
That's
Anyway.
funny because he retweeted me and I got like 1 million likes, you know.
Look at that.
One time.
He needs your helping hand to.
I mean, I'll sell out. Come on, Trump.
Anyway, that's just a disgrace. And yeah, he can't even do 14 seconds without needing help. How's he going to do? And yes, 4 years ago, they did amp him up. He is a different person than he was 4 years ago. You know, we've shown a couple clips of him running in 2019 and 2020, and
he is, but
the difference is stark, actually.
I don't look when you have no audience and it's just you,
And
the other guy,
right.
and a questioner, and the mic's controlled. It's a very controlled setting. He's more likely to do okay, you know.
Yeah.
And the bar is so low.
Yeah, but you know, Biden. I mean, what's his name? Trump is going to say something disparaging that will be a little true, or maybe not. It'll be funny, and it won't get a laugh because that's the whole thing. It won't get a laugh because there won't be an audience, but it would.
Yeah, there won't be an audience reaction to all the obvious things Trump says that are very ageist and mental decline and not policy, but even policy. But there won't be an audience reaction, so the viewer can't judge on that.
Yeah.
They're like, did that hit? And, you know, maybe the interviewer is like, that's below the pale, and scolds Trump or something. And
right.
Now Biden.
Or they'll be like fact checking Trump, but not Biden kind of deal.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's like just so gross. If what you actually want is a democracy, this is gross. The other thing is they're moving the DNC convention mostly online because, as we know, there will be protests everywhere. And I love that they're going to blame Politico, the rookie mayor. No, it's not because he's a rookie. It's because he is he's on the left, Brandon Johnson, and they probably aren't sure that he will shut down protests the way, you know, the mayor of Atlanta would shut down protests, right? Or New York. So
yeah, none of this is going to play well for Biden. I mean, look, you're going to have a convention on the right where they fawn over Trump. You know, they're going to have his baby. They're going to have all the America stuff with the, you know, the barefoot pregnant grandma with shooting rockets out of her ass or whatever they do. Yeah.
Barefoot grandmas. That's their
I was
thing.
thinking of that guy with the gas thing today, but I
I was hoping we were gonna put that up there.
That should be our say what right there.
Sunday show for our Sunday show.
But yeah, so the contrast between that and the jubilation and just this formal little closed door, privately filmed, you know, event, and then all the actual protesters that'll be out there at that point, and the polling will be bad. It'll be much worse. It's going to be a mess. I mean, I still think they're going to parachute in Gavin Newsom or somebody, and I think they're going to lose at this point. I used to think that person would probably win in a landslide, but they screwed the pooch on Palestine. If you're on the wrong side of Palestine, you're not going to get in, and Gavin Newsom's not on the right side of Palestine.
I mean, anybody who has not spoken up at this point, it's like it's too late. Did you mention? Sorry, I tuned out for a second. They're not going to let Jill Stein either debate.
Oh, I didn't bring that up, but so. Well, this is all sort of in flux because these requirements put together by Biden go against the last requirements that were by CNN. And CNN said you had to have 15% polling based on our polls to make the debate stage. And you also have to, by a week before the debate, have enough. You have to be on the ballot in enough states to earn 270 delegates. So, you know, you have to have the potential to win, basically.
Right.
And so Jill Stein is going to be there. She's going to have to hit that number for the 270. And here's Jason Call, friend of the show, her campaign manager, saying, let's get on there.
Yeah.
But obviously they're by-stepping even CNN and saying no third parties.
I mean, the fact that he can just set the terms like that is just disgusting. And it's so driven by fear. Every aspect of this is driven by fear, and it doesn't fool anybody. So, you don't look strong. You just look scared. I mean, that's all. Like, if you weren't scared, you would talk to your base. You wouldn't send militarized cops on them. You wouldn't say that they're all, terrorist supporters and create new laws that they should be jailed.
And you wouldn't put out a TikTok that has 6 edits in 14 seconds.
Yep. All right. I think we've done it. Oh, wait. I saw we have so many new comments. Sorry. I just saw this and that makes me laugh. Can you even imagine?
Donald.
That would be hilarious. Sleepy Joe is crooked. They're all crooked. And it's just so wildly corrupt, all of them. It's just unbelievable what they can get away with. And why, I hope, and I don't watch CNN, but I'm going to have to look, like, why aren't they calling him out on it? No, you don't get to tell us the terms of the debate. Like, it's a debate. I also just wanted to thank, before we move on to our one good thing, because we got to find one and get everybody out of here. Super sticker from my husband. Hi, Josh. Thanks for the super sticker, honey. Cheers.
Hey, that's $2.50 for my big budget.
I'll give you the extra penny. I'll take the $2.49 and you get the $2.50. Thank you, honey. Really appreciate it. Thank you. And also Reflect the Sun. Thank you. Dropping by to support. Thank you. You're so great. Keep punching up. Always. Thanks, Reflect the Sun. You guys are awesome. All right. What do you think?
I think we should go out. So this one, for our one good thing, is it's not very political. This is a guy, I think his words are going to resonate with a few people who are down in the dumps. And what I like about him is you can accuse him of toxic positivity, but it's not toxic to me. It's just really trying to find the thing to hang on to. And his spirit is contagious. So,
and if you don't already know, look him up. Mikhail, the library guy. He's a really sweet, encouraging, lovely young man. We all need more of that, and books and libraries. Let's go to those libraries before.
Amen. And I didn't know this
before,
but he was a librarian where I grew up in Solano County in Fairfield.
Oh, that's neat. That's great. All right, you guys, we love you. Thank you so much. We will have a show on Sunday, our shit show. Until then, thank you. Cheers. Keep punching up.
Live, laugh, let's bro. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy you're taking care of yourself. There's no shame in taking medication. Thank you for loving yourself. Thank you for staying one more day. This librarian is so proud of you. It is so hard to prioritize yourself, but you are that important. You can't help others. You can't help your community. You can't help your loved ones, your family, your friends without helping yourself. Please, you are that important. Care about yourself. Love yourself as much as we love you. You are phenomenal. You are extraordinary. You deserve the help you are seeking. Don't you dare for 1 second think that you don't deserve help. You are lovely. You are extraordinary. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy you're here in this world. Thank you. I love you. Keep on keeping on. Do what you have to do. Yes!